Welcome, everyone. Hi. It's day two of our Digital Excellence Forum. Happy that you all joined, rejoined, or newly joined. So while yesterday's topics were all around business development, internationalization, today's focus is investments and fundraising. So as yesterday, we offer our startups who are in a fundraising round currently the platform to present their investor pitches. That session will start at 3 p.m. Followed by a panel around the latest investment trends in newcomers. So hear from thought leaders about the next big topic in e-commerce, live shopping commerce, and why it will play a huge role in the near future. So also today we will kick off our day with two special guests. I'd like to express my gratitude and highest appreciation for their contribution and resources offered to our startups from year one of our program. I'm very proud to announce that actually Carsten Maschmeyer today will kick off the Investor Day together with Mark Schröder from the Maschmeyer Group Ventures in the US. So Carsten Maschmeyer, one of the most successful and popular businessmen and investors from Germany and jury member of Höhle der Löwen, the German Shark Tank, will discuss together with Mark Steven Schröder, who most of you know as sales expert from the Xcellence program, topics around the US and European trends in terms of investment, the differences. So also quickly to Mark Steven Schröder is the co-founder and managing partner at Maschmeyer Group Ventures and focuses on working with world-class entrepreneurs in technology. Both Carsten Maschmeyer and Mark Steven Schröder are chosen as investors by founders, especially for the sales expertise, global network, and access to long-term capital. So now enjoy the talk around hot topics in B2B and B2C investments across Europe and the US. Have fun.
Sylvie, thank you very much for the kind words and the introduction and for having us both here at your special day, the Metro Digital Excellence Forum. This is a special day and very close to my heart for two reasons. One, I coached sales to all of your startups in all 8 accelerator programs. And on the other hand, I have the opportunity to have a meaningful conversation with you, Carsten, investor, bestseller author, and my mentor and biggest supporter for the last 10 years. For all of you watching here today, we're going to talk the next few minutes about the implications of COVID-19 over the entire venture capital ecosystem. We're going to talk about the different investment strategies here in Europe versus the United States. We're going to talk about Shark Tank, which I'm very excited about. Last but not least, surely you, as am I, are all very interested of what you believe is going to be the next big thing. Now, Carsten, looking back over the last 9 months in COVID, how have you adapted your investment thesis and strategy in the German investment vehicle Seed and Speed in Elston?
First, I have to mention that we have to differentiate between pre-corona, post-corona. For me, late February, early March. For 10 years after the Lehman crisis, in the startup world, it just went up. Higher valuations, bigger rounds, a lot of fundings, inventions. And then there's a shock. And there's a double problem. Revenues drop down, and on the other hand, investors were scared to invest. The coronavirus sorts the startups into fractions. The losers and the winners. We have in our portfolio one big loser, Blacklane, the limousine platform. They had before Corona more than 10 million euro revenues a month, and they crashed down to 1%. No fares, no planes, no hotels. You don't need a limousine. On the other hand, you know all the winners, the listed companies like Zoom and Amazon, and in the mostly digital startups. But to make it clear, the Corona losers are not losers because they are stupid or lazy. They were victims. And those startups need help. There was a big announcement of the Minister of Finance of Germany about the HELP program. A lot of hope, but the execution was poor. Slowly, not transparent. A lot of startups didn't get an answer.
To add to that, all the businesses were forced online. So what used to be a nice to have turned into be a must to have. But that also reflected to us as an investor. And I remember vividly 9 months ago when COVID hit, you and I were having the discussion of how are we going to invest in founders, never meeting them face to face, right? We always say founders first. We invest in founders and not in products, but the chemistry element is missing. As MGV, we had to reinvent our investment process or adjust it in somewhat. So adapt or fall behind was our thought. So we adapted that process, as you know, and we did our very first investment in Leap, a platform for insurances for small, medium-sized businesses. And that came through doing several different Zoom calls with the founder, all in all having in mind, are we ever going to do a deal that is purely done online? And there we found that you can bring the home into the Zoom channel as well. That founder was sitting in his garage, and we all remember his daughter walked in from the back. And in that second, he totally lost his focus on us and completely focused on his daughter, which showed us his true spirit, his true character.
A real human.
A real human was there. And all of a sudden it made click, and we said, yes, we can get to know people even though it's just online. So the process was just adapted to doing more meetings than we had before. Less meetings where all of us are involved, but more one-on-one meetings, and then at the end, a final meeting
but
together.
You save the driving time,
yes,
or travel time. It's harder to build trust, and trust is the fundament between investors and founders. But when you see him in his home office and you see maybe his library in the background or the kitchen and some children or his wife, it's, on the other hand, a little bit more personal.
Correct. You get a look into their home, into their everyday life. So once we finally realized that we can actually do deals, the consequence was that this has actually become our strongest year. We haven't done any year more deals than we've done this year. It's been our strongest vintage. Now, we were extremely lucky that our US portfolio had huge tailwinds because we invested in B2B SaaS and e-commerce. Now, reflecting that back to Europe, do you see any other areas that were heavy on investing here besides B2B SaaS and e-commerce?
Of course, contactless, stay at home, B2B, artificial intelligence, SaaS software, cybersecurity, payment, insurtech. That's the focus for us now. And there's another difference. The investors in a Zoom call have the same distance. Whether you are in Munich for an investment in San Francisco,
true,
or another investor is in Munich, because a Zoom call is a Zoom call.
That's a phenomenal point, because we see that in the sales of our investments as well. So sales in B2B SaaS in the US is up between 27% and 42%. And one of the ways they were able to reduce their costs is that they can outsource their sales teams. They don't have to hire in the most expensive place in the world, which is San Francisco. They can now have their teams in Arizona, in Colorado, or startups that we know in Israel now can hire still in Israel and don't have to move their teams to New York.
It's crystal clear. When you are responsible, let's say for HR, and there is a software program they want to sell to you, it's all the same whether you are in San Francisco and the salesperson is in San Francisco or in Orlando or in Texas. And that brings me to another point. You can global hire. Your computer scientist must not be in Berlin because your startup is in Berlin. He can be in Tel Aviv or in Brazil. It's all the same. Everything becomes closer.
Now, if we put ourselves back into the mindset of March, we did what every other investor did in the world as well. We did a triage with all of our portfolio companies. Now, if I compare what our European colleagues did and what we did in the US, it was vastly different. In Europe, I had the sense of feeling that people sent checklists to their founders. We sent one email with one sentence that said, "How can we help you?" That also reflected to the mindset of the founders. I had the feeling that in the US, the mindset was that I see a crisis as an opportunity and we will rise stronger out of it, in comparison to some of the mindsets that we saw here, which was, oh my God, a crisis, things are going to change. I want to cling on and hold on to what we know.
That brings me to an idea. If you take the word challenge and you get rid of the 3 letters in the middle, you have the word change. And the change is a chance for the startup.
And looking at the chance for the startup, what pattern did you see among your best performing founders here? What made them so special to get through these 9 months?
First, mentality, positive mindset, courage, stamina. On the other hand, to differentiate between nice to have and must have. If you lose revenues, you have to find other revenues, additional revenues, other revenues, and the best founders did it like this. And there are bad circumstances. And that brings me to another example. If you take the word reaction and you change the C in the middle to the beginning, it's creation. And now it's a time of creativity. You have to think, what can I do? How can I reduce costs? How can I get help, financial help from the state programs? How can I create different revenues? How can I keep my core customers? It's a good time to keep in touch with the core customers, not to make revenue, not to make upselling or cross-selling, just to be there. And one special message for the founders who are watching us. The times are challenging. The wind is blowing in your face. For some of you, it's raining. Imagine you are a runner. Even in times with headwind, there will always be somebody who will win the gold medal. Not in the best time, not with a new track record, but better than the others. Even in a temporary shrinking market, you can increase your market share in relation to your competitors. Success is not what is around you. Success is what you make of it.
Karsten, you have many different investment vehicles, among which 2 investment vehicles for startups here in Europe, Seed and Speed and Alston Capital. Can you explain to our viewers what the difference is between the 2?
Seed and Speed is headquartered in Berlin. We are investing pre-seed and seed, average ticket size 400,000, smallest was 50,000, the biggest was 1 million. Alexander Kolpin leads the team. We are 8 professionals and investing in promising very young startups and their founders. And here in my hometown Munich, Alston Capital, our growth fund. I manage the fund with my 3 partners, Clemens, Lukas, Noel. We have in total 37 LPs, celebrities, foundations, big corporates, high net worth individuals and family offices. The most popular startups in our portfolio are Stokart, NeoDigital, Usercentrics, Nect, and they have all in common. We are convinced of the power of the founders and of course of the business models.
But for the outsiders here listening in, you can realize that you can actually follow a startup through their entire fundraising life cycle with your early stage investment vehicle, Seed and Speed, and the growth stage.
Yes, and in the Maschmeyer Group, we have an additional fund, Paladin, just for listed companies. So we can do from pre-seed to IPO.
and we can go globally as well.
Yes.
Because we have Maschmeyer Group Ventures in San Francisco, which we both set up in August of 2017, focusing on early stage companies in North America, South America, and Israel. Our average check size there for you is 250K, and then we follow on in our most promising startups. Now, the question that we always get to be asked is, what were the differences or the unique learnings that we had setting up that vehicle in San Francisco? We had right away from the start the goal that we wanted to be investors in the United States, but have actual boots on the ground. We wanted to build our own brand from the ground up. To do that, we had to adjust our investment process here to the American standards, but without being spray and pray. So now we're able to invest in a startup from first meeting all the way till money in the bank within 4 weeks. That is fast, but still it's not spray and pray, because our goal is to build up a substantial track record to then raise our own fund in the United States and to become a known and respectable US investor.
Across all 3 funds, we have crystal clear requirements. I will tell you a story. One day in California, a co-investor asked me, Carsten, what is for you the most important KPI? And I answered, let me look into your eye. The eye of the founder. Is there hunger, excitement, optimism, courage? And we take care about the priorities. For me, the most important priority is HR. We have a saying, you are who you hire. The difference between a good startup and an outstanding startup are the people. Not the furnitures, not the office space, the people.
We have many founders here today. We have corporates, CVCs, and other investors here in Europe. How do you differentiate yourself from all of them?
For me, the second founding of a startup is sales. And a lot of founders underestimate sales, especially in B2B, where you need sophisticated people who can explain a complicated product. They have speaking ability and experience to handle C-level people. Of course, our viewers want to know what is sales support. Let's take a startup where 5 salespeople are. Our experience is, our lessons learned, if you ask them, what are the most frequent questions? We have, let's say, 5 arguments and questions of the potential customers. And then we ask the salespeople, please write down your best answer. Mostly we get 5 different answers.
So that means 5 different companies?
Yes, you can compare it. 5 different business cards, 5 different claims, 5 different messages. Then we start to make best of. Okay, we throw all answers on the wall. Okay, there's a new role, you can just take one answer. You vote for answer 3 or 5, and then we make best of. And we know when you work with salespeople, they know all the questions of their customers in advance. So we write down all the potential questions, all the arguments, and then we make best of. That's communication. That's also for calls, for webinar and face-to-face meetings. And for us, it's communication. The same we do when they talk to the press. We play the journalists. Yeah, we simulate the questions. Same job interviews. You can make a job interview or a job interview with excitement. So for us, communication is you have to sell to customers, to journalists, to investors, to applicants, and to your team.
We took the essence of that and copied it to the United States as well, because there, surprise, the founders need the same support, the same mentoring.
When you started to offer sales support in the US, I thought it was not necessary because they are so much better than in Germany. but they are not better. They are just aware that sales and communication is important, that you have to train it. That's the difference.
In essence, they understand the importance of sales and are therefore more open-minded and therefore accept our mentoring and support even more.
And this is your success reason in the US, because founders know founders and they appreciate especially the sales support.
Now we come to a personally I find very exciting part. My wife and I watch it religiously every Monday on Vox. Shark Tank, Hütte der Löwen. You've been on it now for the last 6 seasons. When we watch that, we always see the negotiations on valuations right there in that second. How do you, in that short period of time, without being able to do due diligence, without asking all the questions that we always ask, how do you, sitting there, making an in-the-moment decision without the normal due diligence process that we have, how do you make the judgment call that that valuation is correct?
Indeed, it's a big difference to the normal investment life. No preparations, we are surprised, we don't know the founders, we don't know the business model, we can't compare with competitors. And valuation is a very important thing. And it's also hard for the founders. If it's a totally new business model, a totally brand new product, and you can't compare it, you have not revenues until now, it's very hard. And then sometimes I start to laugh when I hear it. Carsten and all lines, look, there are 80 million people in Germany. Every second has a TV at home. When you take the 40 millions and just 10% will buy our, that's for shit. Second idea, what's the reason for the valuation? Yeah, we said what we need and how much percentage we want to keep. That's a crazy calculation. It's easier for all, for the investors and for the founders in the Hütte der Löwen, when they have already revenues. Revenues last year, this year, what is forecast for next year, which EBIT, that's easier. Or you can compare it with companies who have similar products.
All right, but you have their opinion, you have your opinion. How do you compromise?
It's like in real life, it's a negotiation process. Sometimes I have the feeling they know that we decrease the valuation, so they put it on top in advance, right? And it's also a question, are you the only one who wants to invest? Then you have better chances to decrease the valuation. And sometimes the pitch changed. If 3 lions want to invest, then we can't decrease the valuation. We have to offer added value, and so it's like in real life.
Looking back at the last 10 years of your life, the 10 years that we have been working together, investing in Europe, investing in the United States, in South America, in Israel, investing through your 3 investment vehicles and in Shark Tank. Summing everything up, what do you believe makes a successful startup?
The basic is a level of innovation. Is it a copycat or really a new thing? Something must be easier, cheaper, more healthier than before. Then it's very important the team. Is it a complementary team? Because I don't think that a one-person show, that a one single person fits all requirements. And then the hiring of the team, that's so important. HR is so important, and the sales, marketing. For me, I have always the question, if I see a founding team or a founder, would I buy the product? Would I go in a waiting line? Would I pay for it? Second, if I would be a journalist, is it so impressive, so new that I would write an article? Next thing, would I work for them? Yeah? Do I have fun to work with those people? And the last thing, would I invest? That's my job.
Karsten, let's be honest. When you make the final investment decision, is that a gut decision, or do you focus it on facts?
When I'm alone in die Hülle der Löwen, it's of course a gut decision. We have a saying in Germany, der Kopf denkt, der Bauch lenkt. For me, the most important question is, would I have fun to meet the founder tomorrow morning? Would I stand up earlier to meet him or to work with him longer? Or, yeah, okay, we are invested. So it's a gut feeling. It's different with Seed and Speed and Alston because we are a team. In the team, we have specialists for the market, for the competitors, for legal, tech, financial due diligence. And I have the role, are they the right founders? Self-reflection, open-minded for advice. Are they hungry? If there are problems, would they work the whole night through and the whole weekend or run away and next bar and some whiskeys? That's my part. The founders are the material to build a great company.
That's music in my ears, because remember the very first founder discussion that we had in our brand new office in San Francisco. When those two founders left, the whole team looked at themselves and said, oh, we don't like him, right? It's all about the gut instinct as well. Do I want to work with this person? Do I, at the end of the day, will I go the extra mile for him? Yes or no? And that, of course, reflects to character of the founder, how he will treat his team, how he motivate his team, and how he'll lead his team.
And all people ask the same question. Applicants, do I like this person? Do I want to work for him?
Exactly.
The team, the existing team, they have offers from other companies. And then, do I like my boss? Do I want to stay? And the same with customers, cooperation partners, journalists, and with us as the investors.
This wouldn't be a fireside chat without quick questions and quick answers. Don't think about it. What is your biggest regret? What startup did you not invest in?
Hippo and Lemonade.
What do you believe are going to be the 3 sectors where we will find the next big thing?
Future work, deep tech, B2B SaaS.
So, we've scratched the surface on the most pressing topics of how COVID-19 changed our entire investment process throughout this year. We talked about Shark Tank. And if any of you have any further questions to each and one of us, please reach out to us individually. And now we're looking forward to the most important part of this day, which is you founders, the investor demo pitch, and the 2 of us will be pressing both thumbs that you will be successful.
Good luck, startup.
Oh, can you hear me now? Okay, let's try that again. Thank you so much there to Mark for interviewing Mr. Maschmeyer. That was really great. As I said when I was on mute, it felt like I was in the room with them. Really appreciated that candid conversation. Loved the feedback about what innovation is. What does he think about? Is it really different? Trusting that gut feeling. And then, can you have a coffee with the entrepreneur the next morning? I'll definitely keep that in mind too, right? So just from my side, welcome to day 2 of this Digital Excellence Forum. We are very happy to have you here, and I'm very, very excited to kick off our investor pitches. We have 10 companies who will be pitching to you soon. Let me just check if everything is fine. Julia, thumbs up. It looks like everything is great. Okay, so the first company that we will have is Just Snap. Ahmed, good to see you again. So just introducing, Ahmed is an innovative receipt processing technology, which enables brands to conduct customer activations with high return on investment with any offline or online sales channel, while connecting with their customers and providing valuable shopping cart data for retargeting. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Solana. Hello, everyone. My name is Ahmed, and I am the CEO and co-founder of Just Snap. In Just Snap, we have targeted to solve one big major problem. It's about creating the bridge between the brands and their consumers. Normally, brands love to make consumers their buyers and want to keep them buying their products. And one of the most effective ways is, of course, to reach out them via shopper activities, whether it's a promotion activity or a loyalty activity. And for this, they have to get engaged with these consumers, and they have to know about how they engage with their brands. But most of the time, it's quite difficult, and it takes a huge effort on the marketing and sales teams to organize a shopper activity in the offline world as also in the online world, like printing codes, unique codes on the packs, or getting integrated into retail POS systems sometimes becomes a nightmare. And that's why we have developed our technology platform, which is called the Just Snap. We just created user journey so easy for the consumer to opt into any of those activities via just taking a photo simply from their mobile phone and uploading their receipts, invoices, e-invoices to the platform of the activity. And this is, as we are a B2B SaaS company, we offer our solution as a white label solution that can be integrated to any technology of the brand who wants to reach out to their consumers. Whether it's a mobile app, whether it's a campaign micro website, or conversational posts such as Facebook, Instagram, and maybe later on through WhatsApp. So what happens is that consumer just takes a photo of their receipts, upload their receipts, and on the instant, we can analyze the whole content of the receipt, apply the campaign activity conditions, and if the consumer gets satisfies the campaign conditions, they get instantly rewarded. That is, as I mentioned, depending on the consumer's choice or the brand's choice, could happen anywhere, like 360 interaction. What we are great at is not just implementing the campaign mechanics and make the life easier for the brand to go to market in any retail store, retail agnostic in less than 2 weeks' time, but what is more important is about to capture the shopping basket data. The golden source of information, the receipts, that we can capture all the details and going into every aspect, like the consumer's retail preferences, their receipt data, their basket analysis, and we can create actually segmented consumer behaviors based on their purchases, date of time, their shopping basket values, the share of the products, and we can retarget those consumers on the spot, like in the online world, even in the offline, any brick and mortar store as well. And we can also identify the effectiveness of the marketing channels by adding the proof of the purchase through the all access channels. We have run up until today more than 2,000 of campaigns, millions of participations, millions of people's data being processed. We have offices in Berlin. We are based out of Berlin. We have an office in Istanbul, another one in Bucharest, and one in Amsterdam. And so far, we have operated more than 15 European countries with many of those FMCG brands. But it's not only, of course, limited to FMCG. All the brands require this information. We're working with all those companies for more than 4 years now. And just get into some financial information. These are some of the revenues that we started to create since 2017. And you can see them in the currencies that they have been generated. As you can see in the Turkish market, because of the change of the euro Turkish lira exchange rate depreciation big time in 2020, although it looks like the revenues dropped, normally in the original currency it continues to increase. This is from the DACH region, Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. We are almost doubling every year. The same happens in Romania and Netherlands. And this is the distribution of our revenues based on the countries where it's been originated, and the revenues that has been happened and still happened in the last month of 2020. So I guess that we are able to even end the 2020 with a higher revenue than the 2019, although with the whole COVID effect. We are proud to say that we are in positive cash flow. We have more than 700,000 euro as a free cash in our bank accounts. And our monthly burn rate is around 100 to 120,000 euro, all consolidated in all our operations. We have a full-time employee of 26 people and a similar size in flex working people. And our goal is to expand our services in other markets, including UK and US. That's one of the main reasons we are looking for funding, Series A. And most of the money will be spent on this international expansions and getting the best talented teams onboarding, and also to expand our services in the data analytics area with the best of the suite data scientists. And also our penetration within our customers are growing. Take, for example, one of the world's largest FMCG brand, Procter & Gamble. Right now, we started with one of their operation, and it increased now to 8. We are in 8 countries exclusively working for P&G, all shopper activities based on data analytics and receipt scanning technology that gives us the confidence that this can be replicated in every market and with many other brands. I think that was the time which is allocated for me for the time being. And if there are any questions, I would be more than happy to answer. Or I don't know if the questions will come later in another session. Selena?
Yes, Ahmed. Thank you so much. Actually, you do have a few more minutes, so I will just maybe ask you, what has been your biggest challenge during the last, I'm going to say 6 months? I think there was like a real shock around March to May, but just thinking about the last 6 months, what have been like life looked like?
Of course, I mean, first of all, getting adapted working on remote was one of the major challenges. Although as a technology company, we were fast to adapt ourselves. But our customers, the large FMCG companies, manufacturers, and retailers were not that prepared. So it took us some time to get to the same communication level as it was before. But that was maintained. And the other thing is, of course, about the consumer behavioral changes. People who tend to make shopping in supermarkets, who were going there looking for the best options, the promotions, and all the activities, now get there with only a list of what they should be buying, and try to concentrate their purchasing at once, maybe in a week time. They get in, collect the items, and get out, which gives brands the very few opportunity to interact with their customers to give them the best options, the promotions, and all the other benefits they want to, incentives they want to offer. That was a big challenge. And of course, this bring home and other online shopping options were becoming more popular than before. That was also an important topic in the most of our customers to deploy their own direct-to-consumer channels. And there we also helped them a lot for enabling them to have the same user experience as in the online world as the offline world. And convergence of the offline customers into their own D2C channel was one of their biggest challenges, which we helped them a lot with this convergence in the last 6 months.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I feel like the adaptation and the like the learning that has happened, yeah, the learning and adaptation that happened during this year and the rate at which it happened is probably the fastest that anything, any learning happened in the existence of the earth. I feel like, there were years.
I totally agree. The number of the new features being deployed on our platform and the customers' demand and everything, if you think about it, was like a crazy year. And our IT R&D department wasn't busy so much like this ever before. So we were forced to adapt. We were forced to innovate. But that's a very good sign because that's what our customers were expecting from us. And once you can cope with that, their loyalty increases and their demands from you when they're satisfied even grows. So that was, I believe, a very promising year for us, although it was a quite challenging year. But we are very optimistic of the coming year as well.
That's great. Thank you so much for your time, Ahmed. We will hopefully see you at the networking session.
Yes, sure.
Okay, great. So next up, we have Tim from Waiter. Welcome, Tim. Tim will tell us how you can beat the queue and never wait in line again. So just order and pay with Waiter. Over to you, Tim.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Serena. Hi, my name is Tim, and I'm the founder of Waiter. When I was 8 years old, I became the employee #1 at my parents' restaurant. And since then, I was helping out in the kitchen, washing the dishes, serving tables, did it all, and stayed in the industry for a while. And then created Waiter, where we make normally restaurants 15% more profitable. But this year, we not only help them to survive, but we also allowed them to grow. And 1/3 of a restaurant's expenses are employee costs. But rising salaries are not the only headache for a restaurant owner. It's recruiting, finding, training, and retaining staff that is the #1 problem for restaurants. And that's why they're investing so much into technologies like ordering kiosks that you would see at McDonald's or KFC, or they're putting iPads on every single table. Like you see in a lot of sushi restaurants, for example. But not only are these technologies expensive, they're also not solving the problem, as you could see by the very annoyed face by the lady waiting in the queue. The customer experience is still pretty poor. And so this is where Waiter comes in. It's your first digital waiter in your pocket that allows any customer to order for dining in from your table by scanning a QR code using your own phone. All they have to do is scan a QR code to see the menu, place the order and pay, and all under 15 seconds. As easy as that. Every restaurant just puts QR codes on the table. There's no download needed for the customer, and ordering and pay takes only 15 seconds, provided you know what you want to order. And we work with over 500 clients already, ranging from independent small restaurants to global huge chains like Guzman & Gomez, Paul Bakery, and Pizza Express. We also work with other verticals like hotels, where we do the room service ordering, and airports like Changi Airport in Singapore, where passengers can order from the gate and be served to their seat. How awesome is that? Waiter makes money by charging a percentage of every single order as we're processing payments, and we're also charging a monthly fee per location. And when a restaurant wants to find and hire an additional waiter, our monthly fee is very attractive compared to the price tag that a traditional waiter has. Also, even the best restaurants, they maybe 15% of their total sales are destined for food delivery. So, and you know how well funded food delivery is. Well, in our case, we're focusing on the main part of the sales, which is the on-premise dining, the table service, which is 4 to 5 times a bigger segment than the food delivery is. Now, we're growing by nurturing our partnerships with Metro, where we sign up together more than 400 restaurants since May this year. We're also experts in point of sale integrations, where we integrated with the leading brands of the world, but we're also doing our own key account management to sign up additional chains. Now, before COVID, we were growing very nicely already. Then came the lockdown, and after that, we've just been booming more than ever before. Our telephone wouldn't stand still. Today, we're processing more than 1 million euros in orders every single month, and we're on track to be processing 100 million euros annually within the next 2 years. And we did all this having a very strong team and very strong execution, and we've spent less than 1.4 million to achieve the successes so far. We've been doubling 5 quarters in a row, and everything that's happening today in terms of digitization of food industry is here to stay. This year, we launched in 6 new countries, proving that we're very scalable and fast to set up in new markets. Reach out to me for investment opportunities. We're looking for the right investor to help us scale globally and bring the company to the next level. Summing up and concluding, I'd like to leave you with a prediction of ours. 2 years from now, customers will be walking out of restaurants the same way they're getting out of an Uber. Go to the restaurant, focus on your friends, focus on the food, then get up and leave, and the payment is seamless. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Tim. Wow, how nice to imagine the future like that, right? And also being back in restaurants, right? Really looking forward to that. Thank you so much. And will we see you at the networking session later?
Wonderful. Thank you, Serena.
Okay, ciao. So next up, we have Al, one of our alumni companies from ID. Hi, Al, it's good to see you again. And Al is going to explain to us what we all wish we could all have, passwordless authentication. Over to you, Al. I think you're on mute, Al. Or I don't know if you've said something.
There you go. Can you hear me now?
Yes, perfect.
And I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully this works. Can you see that?
No, I don't think so. So
I'm not in packet 1. Oh, there you are.
Yes.
Have you switched me to packet 1 now?
We can see you. You can go.
Okay, super.
You're live.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Al Lakhani. I'm the founder and CEO of ID. And today I'm going to talk about digital identities. Digital identities are the new gold. In fact, they are projected to grow GDP by 13% before the end of this decade worldwide. But they have a big problem. They're a problem because identities are easily stolen by compromised credentials. In fact, 15 billion credentials are available on the web today, and they result in $6 trillion of damage in cybercrime. We need identities that cannot be stolen, phished, hacked, or faked. we need secure and trustworthy identities. And that is exactly what ID has created. We are a B2B solution, a SaaS technology that eliminates all password-based attacks and prevents insider threats. This means that your IoT devices, customers, employees, and your supply chain can be safe with secure and trustworthy identities. And we are able to improve the cyber resilience of identities fivefold. In fact, don't trust me, listen to what Deka Bank, one of the largest wealth management banks in Germany, has to say about us. They have said we are instrumental in enabling digital transformation. This was said by Stefan Hackmeister, the managing director of the Capital Markets Group. And the former chief of research and innovation, Daryl Burns, said that ID's technology dramatically reduces risk. We are also very proud that our customers have given us 4.5 out of 5 stars on the B2B website G2. And finally, we are very proud of all the awards we have won, including the best cybersecurity startup last year at ITSA in Germany. What makes us unique is that we have been zero trust since 2015. With us, there are no backdoors, we have no PII, and we are also zero knowledge. We are very proud to have clients such as Deka Bank and channel partners such as Attentum and Binder Consulting. And we have a very strong pipeline with some of the biggest names in financial services and also software services and resellers. We are also proud to say we have 4 patents, and once we finish with our next funding round, we are looking forward to monetizing those patents by licensing. Our revenue goal is to achieve 960,000 euros by June of next year. And this is the team that's going to make that happen. We are based in Munich, London, and Belgrade. We are 14 people. We represent 12 nationalities, and we are proud to say 38% are women. We are a 10-engineer team. So the use of proceeds is broken into 4 parts. The first is we want to build a channel sales organization. Then we want to obviously build a marketing organization and expand in the US, UK, Asia, and Europe. And finally, we want to pursue patent licensing for all the patents that we have already been granted. So bottom line is we are a zero trust, zero knowledge, zero PII, blockchain-based, highest security company that creates trusted identities, which can be deployed today, is expandable, scalable, and use case agnostic. So don't miss out. Fund us today. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Al. I'm excited for the opportunities that's going to come your way. Thank you so much for making time and for your presentation. We'll see you later at the network session.
Yes, see you later.
Okay, ciao. Great. Hello and welcome. So next up we've got, and please excuse me, because I can just hear my colleague Louisa with a beautiful accent going to say après how it's supposed to be, and I might not be saying it how it's supposed to be. But so just to tell the audience, après enables the world's best restaurants to create and publish a tailor-made package for any time and any day of the year. Over to you.
Hi, good afternoon, good evening to you all from the UK. My name is Damien Hall. I'm the CEO of Appareil, and Appareil unlocks reservations for the future. We're one of these organizations that in the last 6 months has seen a 10 times influx of inquiries from our marketplace. And let me explain what we do. The no-show restaurant culture in the UK alone is absolutely enormous. And Apparia empowers restaurants to create amazing tailored packages that take full payment in advance of the actual day. Our powerful data points and access to new broad customer data helps our customers develop programs for the future. We provide optimization and revenue maximization for our customers. We offer full concierge support. And on average, 20% of diners fail to turn up for the reservations in big cities. We create and publish unlimited packages. Our app, used by our restaurants, allows their customers to find in locations special offers, chef's tables, special dates, Father's Days, Valentine's Days, Christmas Days, the special bookings where the restaurant wants to appeal to a particular type of customer. Our exclusive offers for Apparia Club members allow our members to purchase original experiences and packages either for themselves or for their friends, family, or for their business through their very simple application. Customers can search and select published packages from restaurants around the world. They pay best price for the Apparia offers. They can gift and share these purchases to friends, family, and colleagues. And it's ideal for business travelers and tourists as an exceptional gift present. Our team has been established for over 5 years. I'm the founder and CEO. I have significant commercial experience in the sector. Simon Cole is my co-founder. It's finance, operations, product, fundraising, and system management. We have a great back office team with us this whole journey. Our customers, restaurants, claim their venue for a very simple process. Activate their restaurant. You pay. Our product roadmap from point forward is to provide more external APIs and CRM, data management, development of an Android app, and then our ultimate goal, which is to expand internationally. The expansion. Give you an indication of the business. We've booked over 6,000 packages this year. Most booking numbers. About 50 customers take commission, 8% booking. The average commission for customers currently. The average package for purchase members currently abroad additional 50 customers yet will be you can see.
Damien.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I don't know if it's for everyone, but I cannot really hear you. So I don't know if everyone else can. So I don't know if you, just maybe if you can be a little closer to your mic or anything. And let's try that. Yeah.
Okay. Is that any better?
That is actually much better. Yeah, great.
I'm just going to repeat that particular slide. Customer gross booking value of just over £500,000 this year. 55 restaurant customers. We take an 8% commission on revenues sold. We've sold over 6,000 packages at an average package price of £85. And you can see our forecast of number of customers for 21, 22, and 23, and also number of user members, giving us an Apparia forecast over the next 3 years with exponential growth. Our marketing plans are very simple. We provide LinkedIn for user groups and key acquisition targets. We expand our partnership network through organizations like Airbnb and Uber, where we have concierge facilities. And our marketing plan for restaurants is very simple. Again, we communicate via postcard, communication, CRM, and we invite our customers to claim and to curate their restaurant list, allowing us to set up their initial packages and programs. Perrier will be fundraising in Q1 of next year, and we look forward to any inquiries that will help us achieve our UK and international goals. Sorry about the sound, but I hope we've got the point across, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Damien. Yeah, I definitely think that we definitely got the gist of your message and where you're heading towards. Yes, and so looking forward to the networking session later, catching up with you, and also like other introductions.
Thank you very much.
Okay. So next up we have Via Delivery. Welcome and thank you for joining us. So Via Delivery promises to deliver locally at a fraction of the cost of traditional carriers by powering pure play e-commerce. Take it away.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. So my name is Mitchell, and it's Via Delivery, a platform that orchestrates logistics and local pickup in brick-and-mortar store. Imagine yourself shopping online, and for the item that costs like just few dollars, you are to pay $6 for shipping. For most people, that just doesn't make any sense. So they drop the shopping cart and they go to some, I would say, Amazon Prime, for example. But what if I could tell you that you could, instead of like getting this item delivered door to door, you could pick it up in your neighborhood store, and pay not $6 or $8, but just $2 or $3 for that shipping? Would it make more sense? Well, for most people it is, because like the number one reason why people drop their shopping cart in online stores is that shipping costs too much. What can our online store do to like get rates that low? Okay, I need to briefly explain you the cost structure. So if he uses traditional carriers like UPS, DHL, etc., they do have their own infrastructure and they do have a cost of this infrastructure. So they can't go any lower than the costs, right? But if our online store will use infrastructure and supply chain of existing retail chain, and by retail I mean brick and mortar retail chains, it could utilize the empty space inside those trucks that already deliver, I don't know, any other type of items like food to those locations. And since it's like the empty space on existing trucks, the costs are way lower. And which is even more important, any physical location like brick and mortar store knows how to earn on traffic. So when somebody comes for a pickup, he becomes a foot traffic, and in 62% cases, it becomes an extra sales. So Via Delivery is actually a platform that orchestrates this process. We are integrated with multiple online stores from one side, get paid for every single parcel, subtract our commission, and transfer all the flow of e-commerce parcels to traditional brick-and-mortar retail chains like grocery, gas station, pharmacies, coffee shops, etc. This is the market of logistics for e-commerce, and I don't think I should stress how fast it is growing. Like for this year, I would say that it was like 15% before, and now it's up to 50% growth this year. At the moment, we are a team of more than 30 people right now, and we are happy. We're really happy that guys like Ray, who is Senior Vice President in CVS, Daphne, who is Vice President in Target, and Alex Ha, who is actually Head of Product Delivery in Amazon, also joined our team as an advisors. We are also partnering with Alchemist Acceleration program in Silicon Valley, as well as Equid platform for online stores, and multiple other partners and retailers. So why now, and how come that just in 1 year from pure idea stage, we are now like 15,000 locations and about 4,000 e-commerce partners? Well, we just know that there is a decline in foot traffic in traditional retail while e-commerce is booming. So we kind of found the way how both of those would actually benefit from working with each other. And as our growth speeds up, we are really happy that, well, our concept of bridging the gap between e-commerce and brick and mortar stores is really working. So that's it for now.
Thank you very, let me just see. Yeah, thank you very much. Really appreciate that. So great to hear about your company. Even though I heard about it yesterday too, definitely sinks in the more I hear it. So thank you very much. I also think that you are in the US, is that right?
Yes,
I
I'm in
can't
San
remember.
Francisco.
Yes, yes. So for those of you, I think it's now what? Is it now 6 a.m.? Because you're in the Valley, right?
Yeah, it is 6 a.m.
Yeah.
But sometimes
Okay.
I do
So thank you for
4 a.m., so it's not the worst case, believe me.
true commitment. I'm thinking about Mr. Maschmeyer, who just said, you know, the commitment. Let me see it in your eyes. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you so much.
Okay. And hello again, Cedric. Really great to have you here. Cedric will be presenting Phoenix Cup, a fast and flexible cash flow solution for VSEs and SMEs. Cedric, take it away.
Yeah, so thanks for the intro, Serena, and nice to meet you all. So I'm here to introduce you to Phoenix Cap. Serena said most of it, but I will provide the additional details. So basically, as you see it, the idea of Phoenix Cap is to provide simple cash solution, financing solution for very small businesses in B2B transactions. So we've been operating since 2015, but we created the company in 2012. And ever since, we've become the leading alternative digital work capital financing solution in continental Europe. So we're not a bank, we're not a credit institution. We're technically the combination of a tech company, which is Phoenix Cap, where we build the technology, as you can imagine, and an asset management company that we own as well, Phoenix Cap Asset Management, allowing us to provide the financing to our clients. So as you can see, the numbers, at least some of the numbers, we now have reached roughly 35,000 customers in operations with us, and we raised 25 million euros of equity, and we're here to raise more, hopefully. So why Phoenix Cap? First of all, huge market. As you can see, only in Europe, you have more than 25 million SMEs. So that's quite a number. And if you look at the account payables of those companies, they're roughly estimated to be $14 trillion or euros in this case. And if you take just the average fee that Phoenix Cap can actually charge for the financing, that leaves a total addressable market of 340 billion euros. So quite significant. What we provide is basically the complete suite of financing tools for SMBs and freelancers. So we started with an invoice financing solution that is called Phoenix Cap, which provides really pay-as-you-go invoice financing without any of the commitment that you can get in a traditional factoring arrangements. And since last year, we ventured in the buy now, pay later BNPL market with Phoenix Pay. So the idea is to be at the center of a B2B transaction so as to provide financing to the suppliers and to the end customers when they need it. So our model is pretty much unique in the sense that we don't target directly end customers. We offload that distribution capacity to our partners. So we connect on any kind of software environment, be it physical for that matter, or purely digital. We offload that distribution, we connect with them so that they can actually promote our solutions to their customers, be they suppliers again, or end customers at the end of the value chain. So we connect with B2B marketplaces, electronic software that are used for invoicing, accounting, payment gateways such as Stripe, as you can see, Mango Pay. And we also connect now with Phoenix Pay, that BNPL solution, to players, be it B2B retailers such as Metro, with whom we've been working for quite some time now, and other B2B marketplaces or again software environments on which we can provide that B2B buy now, pay later solution. So we have, again, a pretty much unique positioning in the space. So we're not PayPal, we're not Square, for that matter, that's sure. But we're actually more similar to them in the sense that we're omni-channel. We can provide in-store financing, instant financing for customers, again, suppliers or end customers, or we can provide that digitally through our APIs or FTP servers if that's necessary, for B2B transaction only. So you have tons of players actually working in B2C. Obviously, in the BNPL sector, you have Klarna, you have Affirm, very well known, and you have tons of invoice financing players, but only working digitally. So our positioning is to be able to serve all the financing needs that our partners actually could request from us. As it stands, PhoenixCap since 2015, we pretty much operating in France. We have a vision now that it is time actually, and also because we need to accompany our partners for their international expansion, it is time for us as well to go internationally. So that's one of the main drivers of the fundraising we're doing now. So we have the launch of Spain and Italy that is scheduled now in 2021. And the idea is to further actually elaborate on the capacity of PhoenixCap Asset Management to originate transactions throughout the European Economic Area, to expand into other countries, probably 2022. The idea is to serve Germany, Netherlands, and Poland to start with, and we'll see actually where the market actually leads us. Some numbers. So we've now reached roughly 400 million euro financing for the past 4 years, growing on a more than 30% quarterly basis. So as I said, the average transaction fee is 2.5%. That's what we charge to our clients. The key takeaways in terms of financing size is the average financing is roughly 7k euros. So it's very granular. That's why actually the cost of risk is very well managed. We'll elaborate a little bit further. And it's very short term. So very short term means that you can actually monitor your credit risk more easily than you would in a traditional financing arrangement for an SME. The growth is now actually booming thanks to Metro. So thanks for the team, because we launched, as I was indicating earlier, a partnership this summer. The idea is to provide in France, to start with, a BNPL solution for Metro customers and customers. So we started with that product late July, and we've been growing tremendously ever since, because you have to imagine PhoenixCap in about 4 years and a half is roughly 4,000 clients that have been using us, and now you see 3.5 thousand new clients in only 4 months, so growing quite significantly with a usage rate that is very satisfactory for the parties involved. What drives also the growth of PhoenixCap is the unit economics we can get. So the net margin actually has been growing significantly since 2016. Why? Because as we rolled into that B2B2B distribution model, we leverage the sales and marketing of our partners. We don't need to be in direct contact with SMEs or very small businesses, which makes it so that it's a very lean organization. And as you can see, the net margin is 77% for 2020. You see the average APR, again, it's between 11 to 17%. So in most cases, we're less expensive than a traditional overdraft. So pricing has never been an issue for us. We lost very little out of the operations. The cost of risk has been less than 0.1% of the transaction volume. And we managed to get, I would say, a proper collection out of the financing we provide, because again, 77% of the cash advances have been actually fully paid less than 30 days in arrears. What is also interesting is, again, that B2B2B distribution model in terms of lifetime value and cost of acquisition. Because we leverage our clients' sales and marketing efforts, we're able actually to have very low cost of acquisition, which make it so that now the LTV versus the CAC is roughly a 15 times multiple, so very, very strong, thanks to, again, to that distribution capacity. So as I said, very lean team. We're a 25-person team, mostly tech and data science, as you can see, but all of the different business units are served, as you can imagine. So we're experienced fintech entrepreneurs with my partner in crime, Arthur, because that's our second company together in fintech. We launched initially in 2009, a fintech company for private equity funds, because we come from private equity. And in 2012, ventured upon work capital financing. So we have strong equity investors, a very large family office, Summerstone, one of the largest credit investment fund manager in Europe, Chenava Investment Manager, that is a strong supporter of us. Black River Ventures, a VC fund operating in Silicon Valley and Spain, and some roots in Russia as well. And GLI Finance, which is a listed fund in London. Why we're talking now? Because raising roughly 10 million euros. The idea is to transform, as you can imagine, B2B transactions into cash. The main pillars of that scale that we see is international expansion. As I said, Italy, Spain, Netherlands, Germany, and Poland to start with. Obviously, to keep investing in our R&D. Yeah.
I'll have to cut you off soon.
Yeah.
So
investing in
if you
R&D,
want to wrap it up.
Consolidating the team, and widespread acquisition of FinexPay. And that's about it. Wrapping up.
Oh. So I should have waited 5 more seconds. I apologize for that.
Don't worry.
I'm just respectful. We have 3 more companies, and I know the panel discussion, people who's joining for the panel discussion, please allow us. There's 3 more companies is going to pitch. Cedric, thank you so much. I mean, also with this investment pitch and you raising, but also wishing you the best for your pilots in Spain and Italy, yeah?
Yeah, lovely. Looking forward to it.
Okay. Speak later. Ciao. Daniel, welcome. Very excited to introduce you to the audience. As you know, a personal or close to my heart, your tool, Floatify is a digital quality assurance platform, and Daniel will tell you more.
Yeah, thank you, Selina, for having the chance to pitch here. My name, Daniel, and I'm one of the 3 founders of Floatify. And let me give you a better understanding of what Floatify does. So I myself, from my background, have a 10-year track record as a restaurant owner. And that's where I got to know the problems of hygiene documentation. And not only hygiene documentation, as it is required by law in many countries worldwide, but also operative actions you want to know documented and to be in control of, especially if you are a multi-branch business. So what we found out, about 90% of all food distributing businesses document their HACCP, their hygiene records on pen and paper. And this poses a lot of problems and dangers. Not only that it is time consuming for the management, for the quality operators, the area managers, and even down to the store manager, but it also lacks the chance of live data and automated store comparison, which is a quite big problem if you have like 100 stores and you don't know how they compare in hygiene matters. Everything else is already monitored, but not the hygiene part. So cross-site updates is really hard to manage if you have to spread the news in 100 outlets, especially during a pandemic. We saw these problems of daily changing regulations and to keep up with the new guidance for your stores. So these are typical problems you face in hygiene documentation, not to mention the vulnerability to manipulation of data. So this being said, 90% doing it on pen and paper, we saw there must be a digital solution for the problem. And that's basically what the Floatify quality assurance platform does. We have grown from just an HACCP solution for hygiene checks in supermarkets, quick service restaurants, hotels, and so on, to a platform consisting of a web dashboard where you administrate one, many, all of your stores. You have the HACCP app where the employees work with on location. In addition, we just recently published our Floatify audit app, which is a complementary tool to daily hygiene checks. And on top, we have an IoT integration, which enables our customers not only to get live data from their cooling devices, but also maybe from 2-3 different dishwashers, from mice traps, and so on. So our IoT integration is our latest baby, if you like, and it's constantly growing by new implementations. And all this together offers our customers a benefit of up to 2.5 hours time saving per week per store. It helps them to have live data for the very first time in regards to hygiene checks. Also to compare stores, to minimize manipulation, and to have 24-hour access to all the data needed. And this will be very, very important, not only for the already existing hygiene regulations, but also from what our customer expect when they go to a restaurant, when they go to a supermarket. Hygiene will be a new topic for the future. So you can see it on Google Maps, where more and more hygiene data is being included. So what is a market size? When we took a look at the European market, the total addressable market is almost 2 million. The serviceable addressable market for us would be roughly around 1 million. And what we want to target in the years to come is a license number of around 5,000 licenses. This is due to long sales cycles in our field. It's up to 24 months usually if you talk to enterprise customers. And our revenue model behind our three modules is very easy. Floatify HACCP is our software as a service solution with an annual license fee. Then we have Floatify IoT as a tool to gain retention with our customers and to have a small fee for upselling. And the Floatify audit tool is our latest part in the family, is a pay-per-use solution, which is not limited to food distributing companies, but one of our investors and distribution partner, TÜV Süd, is using it internally for doing audits of their customers. So there will be lots of growth in this area. During the pandemic, we managed to sell 540 licenses, which was really astonishing. If you think of a sales cycle of 24 months, we could sell 540 new licenses without a sales cycle, basically. Our customer acquisition costs are fairly around €300, very low churn, and we expect a customer lifetime of 7 years and more. So, give you a quick understanding of who are our customers. Currently, we have 4 verticals we are addressing. It's food, retail, and wholesale, with customers in Romania, like Selgros, Transgourmet, Cash and Carry stores. Europa Park Rust is using it all over the amusement park, not only in food, but also for checking the roller coasters, the shops, and so on. Public canteens and hotels are 2 more verticals. And on our partner side, we have well-known brands like Horbart, Maiko, preparing to work with Winterhalter. TÜV Süd is an investor and distribution partner, as well as temperature sensors we have already integrated to give you a broad understanding where we are right now. And what we are looking for is an investment of 800K, and it will be used for scaling into new markets, not new verticals, but we will stick with our well-known verticals, but going to new markets. We are already seeing our software in 7 countries, and we want to expand that with the help of this investment. Thank you for taking your time. And if you want the full pitch deck, this was just a short version of it, please talk to Julia, Serena, or get in touch with me. Thank you for taking your time and enjoy the rest of the day in the program. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Daniel. That was great to hear about your future plans also, specifically, and what you will be doing with your growth and scaling. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. See you later. Hi, Mickey. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us. So Mickey will be presenting and sharing about Orient. Orient is powers mobile apps with indoor location services by using a scalable and easy to deploy solution that does not require hardware. Mickey, have fun.
Thank you. So my name is Mickey Balter. I'm CEO and co-founder of Orient, and Orient is GPS for indoors. GPS is pretty much a transparent part of our lives, powering our mobile smartphones with location awareness in ways that we can't imagine living without. We hardly remember using paper maps anymore. But if someone still wants to recall what it's like to use a paper map, all they need to do is walk into a building indoors. GPS simply doesn't work, and you have to rely on paper maps. And this has been a challenge that people have been trying to solve for quite some time. And some of the investors in the crowd might say, isn't this a solved problem? We've been hearing about it for 10 years, but it's far from being solved. And just ask yourselves, when was the last time you were in a building where you had Google Maps working or you had any form of indoor navigation? Beacons, which have been attempted as a solution, really don't work because they require expensive and hard to maintain hardware installations, and existing Wi-Fi is simply inaccurate to the point of being unusable. In 2016, we came up with a radical new approach of leveraging Earth's magnetic field for providing indoor GPS. And this basically solves all the problems that have plagued the indoor positioning field up until then. First, it requires absolutely no installation. Earth's magnetic field is already there. You don't need to install any hardware whatsoever. Second, it's high-tech. It's a 2 meter, which is 20 times better than what you get with beacons or Wi-Fi. It's cost-effective. We operate on a SaaS model in a simple OpEx expense, and it's available anywhere. It's scalable to any building on the planet. So we're talking about a technology that's 20 times more accurate and 1,000 times more scalable. Yes, in any specific industry, it's $1 billion market at least. Sorry?
Mickey, I lost sound with you there for a little bit. Do you want us to start over with this slide?
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Perfect.
Yeah, thanks. So looking at what you can do with indoor GPS, there are basically infinite possibilities, like with GPS outdoors. So there are use cases in smart buildings, there are use cases in logistics, and there are use cases in retail. And each one of these is a multi-billion-dollar market. We decided to focus on retail because retail is a market that's ripe for disruption, and retail is the early adopter market for indoor GPS. So first of all, looking at retail, every retailer today is looking at an omni-channel strategy, and that involves having an app. And most retailers today are introducing new apps or already have apps, and they encourage people to use them in store to enhance the shopping experience and to gain more data about their shoppers. Second, we see more physical stores now being much more data-driven, much more digital. And on top of that, there's COVID, which really accelerated the rush towards contactless payments and the use of apps in physical retail environments. So we've introduced a concept that we call the oriented store, where we deploy the indoor GPS infrastructure and then it powers multiple use cases and multiple applications in 3 main categories. One is about enhancing the shopper experience. Second is about streamlining operations and allowing the retailer to have better visibility on their stores. And third is about advanced marketing and really communicating with the shopper in a contextual way that takes into account their location in the store. Post-COVID, this has really put the spotlight on 2 specific use cases. One, the need to get more shoppers through the stores more quickly. This has become a priority for retailers, and this is a priority for shoppers who want to feel safe in retail environment, want to go in and out while grabbing everything they came for. And second, in times of lockdown, where online ordering surges, retailers are tasked with finding a solution for scaling up picking operations. And then again, indoor GPS plays a very significant role in that. So both of these use cases actually accelerated, and we see much more demand during COVID for these particular two use cases from basically everywhere. And you can see on top some of our existing customers from the US and the UK and the rest of Europe. Our business model is fairly simple. We charge a per store fee. It's a B2B SaaS model that's very simple. The retailers deploy the infrastructure, deploy the virtual infrastructure, and just pay us by the store. And pilot results from those customers see that, by offering wayfinding, you can sell one more item to 1 in 3 shoppers, which is huge. This is lost revenue opportunity that's happening now, and all retailers are suffering from this. And this is invisible. You basically don't know when the shopper goes out of the store without finding an item. But by offering wayfinding, you eliminate that problem and increase your revenue immediately. And in picking, we see a 90% reduction in onboarding time for new pickers, a 50% higher picking rate in the store, and a decrease of 15% in item not found events, while the item is indeed on the shelf. So all in all, looking at all our pilots, we already have potentially $3 million of ARR with existing paying customers that are in various stages of piloting, and some of which are already ready to scale. And this is the perfect time for us to raise a Series A. We're raising $6.5 million for reaching $10 million ARR by 2022, for completing our scaling infrastructure, our ability to take our operations to thousands and tens of thousands of locations, and also to expand to other verticals beyond retail. Because while retail is a huge opportunity and an early adopter market, there are other opportunities virtually in every type of building. We are a team of 16 people based in sunny Tel Aviv. My co-founder, Amiram, is the inventor of our patented technology. And we also have Or Shin as Chief Business Officer and Yuda Sabag as VP of R&D. A number which always surprises me is that GPS outdoors generates $300 billion per year in economic benefits. Now, we spend 90% of our time indoors, so just imagine what would be the economic impact of an accurate and scalable indoor GPS infrastructure that can be activated in any building from Orient. So I encourage you to visit our website and to reach out to me at m@orient, that's Orient with 2 I's, m@orient.me, and talk to me about our upcoming fundraising round. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mickey. I have a couple of things to say, because this is the first time that I now actually see your presentation. I haven't been part of the program before, and I guess we always miss each other at events. I relate a lot to this problem. I feel like I can smash my phone when I lose GPS access. And also something that I really find interesting is that wayfinding ROI that you mentioned. So that was really great. Thank you so much for the presentation, and good luck with your raising.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Okay. And so our last presenter is Katur, a food procurement tool for restaurants and suppliers. Over to you.
Hello, Serena. Hi, guys. My name is Diogo. I'm one of the co-founders of Katu. Our vision is to connect and empower the food supply chain. We'll explain why. So both me and my co-founder are 2 ex-BCG consultants. So we have to start with a BCG study that estimates that every year around 1/3 of the total food production is actually wasted, which represents an opportunity of $700 billion. But out of those 700 billion, there's around 330 that actually come from, the whole supply chain, both infrastructure, efficiency, and collaboration. There's a lot of ways to tackle this problem, but, we decided to start with one of the businesses that passions us, both me and my co-founder, the most, which is the restaurant side of things. So a couple of years ago, we wanted to set up our own dark kitchen, and we were taking a look at the space, and we understood that the whole B2C side of things was already digitalized. There's the delivery players, there's the booking platforms, there's the POSs as well. But then the whole back office for the independent, family-owned restaurants, or even for the small chains, was left completely forgotten. It was still done on a pen and paper basis. So we decided to focus on procurement, and we really wanted to understand how the process is done correctly. And we got to the conclusion that it's still like it was 20 years ago. So, restaurant closes the kitchen, chef goes to the warehouse, he calls his supplier, he left a very noisy voicemail with, please bring me 3 kilos of, steak and two boxes of Coca-Cola. He does this for, 5, 10 suppliers. The following day, the supplier gets to work, the sales rep listens to the voice messages, he writes them on a piece of paper, he sends them to the office. There's someone in the office manually inputting the data into their ERP. That person makes a mistake and she writes Coke 124 instead of Coke 123. And the following day, the restaurant gets, instead of Coca-Cola, he gets Coca-Cola Zero. So we thought, how can we tackle this problem? We started with a very simple to use free communication tool for restaurants. We like to call it like a WhatsApp for chefs. So where you can get all the suppliers in one app, you get your normal order list from each supplier, and you go one by one, plus, minus, saying, I want 2 of these, 4 of that, and so on and so forth. And even though it's something super, super easy, it's also incredibly powerful in the sense that it has no learning curve. It saves more than 60% of the time. It saves between 5 and 10% of costs. And at the same time, it's really, really easy to collaborate with everyone from your team in a seamless and fantastically simple way. And, from our launch in October until March, as you can imagine, after March with COVID, and that's why we are measuring data like this, we have grown to more than 3,000, both restaurants and suppliers managing orders through Katu, and processed more than 1,000 orders in our 100,000 orders, in our 2 core countries, Spain and Italy. But we wanted to go further, and COVID didn't stop us. So between March and September, we decided, what will we do? We will focus on our product, and we will listen to our clients and understand what they want. And that's why we are now announcing the launch of our supplier SaaS. Like we've said before, we had a product that restaurants love, a product that made their lives a lot easier. But on the supplier side of things, people were also asking us, how can I become more efficient? How can I avoid mistakes and make my team happy? So our supplier SaaS has 4 core features. Number 1 is an order management one that reduces mistakes, makes the communication between sales reps and the central office easier, and makes order amendments also a lot more seamless. A product catalog that allows their current clients to discover new products, to see promotions, and understand what is in stock and what is not. There's also automations for their clients. For example, if you have cut-off hours at 6 p.m. and you only deliver 3 times per week, don't worry, we get your back and we can automatize messages to your current clients who have not placed orders yet. And last but not least, integrations with your ERP so that everything is, seamless, integrated, and according to the stock that you have or not. What does the supplier SaaS allows us to do? It allows us to unlock one of the most powerful things about our business, which is the supplier network effect. For each restaurant that we get on board, it brings us 5 to 10 suppliers, but for each supplier that we get on board, we get between 100 up to 2,000 restaurants. Though that is the effect that we are unlocking now, and this is heavily reducing our CAC. So to the slide that I've shown you before, our two current products already solve a big part of it. So with the integrations with our app for both restaurants and suppliers, we are making chefs happier. They are going home earlier, making their operations significantly better. Whereas on the supplier side, they are saving on costs, they're reducing mistakes, and they are keeping their clients happier. We've started talking about food waste, and we are aware that we are not solving 100% of the problems concerning the food supply chain, Yes, inconvenience is something we're already solving, but the tight margins were not. The lack of transparency between restaurants and suppliers were not. The credit taxes were still not there. On the supplier side, there's inefficient logistics. There's, the expensive last mile that many of them would like to get out of their wallet and would like to outsource. There's a whole payments and invoicing system, which is still done in a very archaic way. And there's also the dependence from middlemen, from a lot of inefficient distributors that a lot of brands would like to directly access and get to know their customers so that they can target them better. Are we there yet? No, but we believe that by owning the restaurants and the suppliers, we are on track to do what no other company in the region has been able to do. Regarding COVID, so we're back to our numbers, and we see that COVID is actually helping us accelerate the whole process. You know, restaurants are adapting more digital tools, dark kitchens are thriving, producers are trying to get directly to final customers, and ugly food companies, for example, start getting more and more restaurants. And last but not least, our team. So we believe we have the right team to tackle this problem. So both my co-founder and I come from a consulting background at BCG. I've also worked at Uber, where I led the driver operations team for Portugal, Spain, Italy, and Croatia. So we have all the operational expertise. We have product expertise by hiring the ex-CPO of a Series A company called JobLink here in Spain. Our head of marketing also has like a VC and consulting background. And then we have a very strong board with powerful investors like Flash Ventures, Rocket Internet, OTM Capital, but also angel investors who know the space powerfully, like the two founders of The Fork, La Fourchette, who have joined us. We have just raised our 3 million seed round, so we are not raising capital right now, but we will by the second half of next year. If you have any questions, if you want to reach out, if you want to know more about the project, since this was a very short presentation, these are my contact details. Please get in touch. We are super open to feedback, partnerships, helping people with anything they want, and we are here to help the industry. That's our main purpose. Thank you so much.
Diego, thank you so much. And I loved your explanation, and I'm definitely going to copy it when I explain your product. WhatsApp for chefs.
What, sorry? Which one? WhatsApp for chefs.
WhatsApp? Yes.
Yes, that's our purpose. It's really to bring
great.
communication to mass market, which, you know, the other players hadn't done before. They had focused on, you know, very professionalized restaurant chains. We are going the way WhatsApp is going, mass market.
That's great. Thank you so much, Diego. We'll speak again. Wishing you the best until we speak again.
Thank you so much. Cheers.
Okay, ciao. Okay, and so we are running a little behind. So for those of you who joined already for the panel discussion, sorry to have you waiting. I hope you enjoy those pitches with me. We are now, I'm just waiting for Sophie and Kevin and Hans-Jörg to join me online. Let me just see if everything is coming, Julia. Just a couple of seconds. I feel very professional today here with like, I feel like a headpiece. I almost feel more like a sports commentator. I feel like there should be like a field of football players. So thank you so much also for the support there from the team. I actually oh, here we are. Welcome. Hi. Hello,
Hi, Serena. Hi.
Hi, Kevin.
Hello.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining me. I just want to make sure if I've got a delay or if we're good. So I'm gonna go on. I am so excited to be talking to you about this topic today. This is a very new topic, newcomers, right? And so I'm quickly going to introduce all of you to everyone who's joining. Let me just get out my little notes here. So excuse me for reading for those of you. So we've got Hans-Jörg Stage. He is heading up LeadX, currently the venture capital firm. He has an extensive background as an investor, working like with the Lehman Brothers private equity division, GMV, both in London and in Munich. He is on executive committees. He has also worked on a broad spectrum of asset classes, from venture transactions to mid-market buyouts. And obviously, he is very involved with Xcellence history, the accelerator. So I am very happy to have you here and look forward to this interview.
Thank you.
Next up, we actually have we have Sophie. We had her yesterday too, but what I didn't know is that Sophie, you are actually a Metro alumni. Like, can I call you that? You come from Metro.
I just discovered I have the Metro pen still, so there you go, going strong.
I mean, Sophie, thank you for that branding. I have to commemorate you, so thank you for that. Sophie is now the co-founder and CEO of Lisa, a B2B SaaS startup which offers live stream shopping solutions for e-commerce. She is a passionate advocate of human-centered approach to leveraging innovative tech in retail that makes sense with her background, 10 years working in box retail here at the Metro Group. Yes, so thank you again for joining us. Looking forward to all of your sharing again, especially after yesterday. And then lastly, Kevin, thank you for joining us early, right? You're calling in from San Francisco, is that correct?
Yes, I am. Yeah, not too early.
Yes. So quite early. So thank you very much. Kevin is an investor at the Maschmeyer Group, specially skilled in e-commerce and entrepreneurship. No wonder we have him here on the panel today. So thank you for getting up early. I hope that's a strong coffee.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so I just want to remind the audience, I'm going to, obviously, I have a list of questions that I have for the three of them, but we also have time for your questions. Just below this screen, you will see Slido, or just a box where you can add your questions. Feel welcome to add that. We will definitely be attending to that. Okay, then I'll kick off. Hans-Jörg, I'm going to start with you about this new topic, new commerce. Do you mind defining that for us and explaining what are the subsets?
Yeah, no, I'm very happy to give a bit of an intro there. And I think we started off with social commerce, and let's start also there. And social commerce is, at least from our perspective, first of all, the subset of e-commerce where you use social media or user contribution or social interacting for online buying and selling of products and services. So there you have got things, first of all, like the social media platforms, the communication tools on which these things are being sold. So Instagram, WeChat, Strava, TikTok, things like that. You have got things like the tools which are used to plug into these social platforms to make this interaction with the users and the selling possible. You have automatically also then the question of payment or web shop integration. So somehow also the money needs to flow. You have got things around social media marketing, influencer marketing, things like that, which needs to happen to make this area successful. And you've got things also around user ratings, referrals, reviews. So all that area is also highly relevant and active. But I think overall, just to broaden things a bit here, we talked about innovative commerce as well. So social commerce is obviously one of the major trends happening, but you've got also other trends in the overall value chain, which is also linked to social commerce, but also online commerce in general. And there you've got things like AI-driven operations. I guess we've heard from Afresh and CB4 and the pitches yesterday. You've got things around logistics where automation and new platforms are happening, and therefore things become much more cheaper and picking costs become lower. You've got things around payment. And you've got also things around waste avoidance, which is also a really important topic these days. So just to broaden things up around innovative commerce. But that's how I would define it for now. And maybe just to add one last thing, and I think in terms of trends and dynamics, Social commerce is mainly driven by Gen Z currently. You've got a lot of time spent by Gen Z on social media, and therefore actually this has become the medium to interact, to discover new brands, to discover new products. Then also you have had the impact of COVID crisis pandemic, where people have spent even more time on these kind of media, and therefore actually it has become even more relevant. And I guess that is one of the reasons why these days this has become also something where investors are really keen, because there is a tailwind, and whenever there's a sales acceleration, investors become really interested and curious to see more. But I guess Sophie can tell us more about that at a later point.
I'll try.
Thank you for that explanation. Yeah, great. Kevin, what are the priorities in the US regarding new commerce, and which investments have you done through the Maschmeyer Group ventures in this area specifically?
Yeah, so continuing on kind of the last point, I think that the interesting bit about new commerce is that we now kind of have to meet the consumer where they are, right? So you said it's very driven by Gen Z, and a lot of that is because the majority of Gen Z isn't going necessarily into traditional retail to go buy what traditional consumers, if you want to call them that, used to do. So you've got to meet your consumers on TikTok. You got to meet your consumers on like every single new platform all at once, which creates, for traditional retailers, a massive logistical nightmare. It's not quite so easy to spin up a ton of different endpoints for people to buy stuff. So it's really the way that kind of we define new commerce is really it's just anything that stems from having to meet your customers where they are. So I think before kind of COVID hit, that you could get away with a little bit more, but now that almost everybody is online, that's sort of embraced or kind of encompass the entirety of the retail spectrum. So you don't just have to meet Gen Z folks online nowadays. Now it's everybody. Everybody's online. Most people, at least in the States, are only buying online. I mean, retail, at least in San Francisco right now, physical brick and mortar retail can only have 25% capacity. So people have to think about, or brands have to think about retail in a very different way. We've done a couple retail focused investments at MGV. Most of them have not been directly touching retail, but they're on the more kind of B2B side of things. So it's enabling retailers to kind of evolve and adapt to this new type of commerce. So for example, we invested in a company called Leap. They're approaching the physical brick and mortar retail side of things by allowing direct-to-consumer brands to spin up shops in physical locations. And typically, kind of pre-COVID, this wasn't necessarily your pop-up shop. This was more of a long-term brand presence in high-traffic, high-quality kind of spaces. So think Bond Street in New York, Bleecker Street. You've got Soho. You've got all these big kind of brand name areas. Direct-to-consumer brands realized that they needed a physical retail presence, but it was mostly for marketing. The majority of their retail, or most of their commerce, was still being done online. So these guys kind of enable companies to have a footprint without taking on, a 10-year lease. They hold the lease. They're able to spin, different brands in and out of those shops. So that kind of helps a brand be a little bit more flexible. Let's say they want to be in retail for a couple of years because they're pushing a brand new product line, or they're pushing a new whatever it may be, new style, new shoe, new clothes, new, you name it. We've also invested in a company called Downstream that's doing kind of marketing synchronization for e-commerce based advertising. So the difference there is that you can now kind of link your ad dollars directly to a purchase, whereas before on Google you can link it to an impression, you can link it to a click, but that doesn't necessarily mean that somebody actually went all the way through with something. With e-com, there's a direct line from me looking at an item all the way to me clicking purchase and having it shipped, and you can track if it was returned, if they kept it. So you have much more kind of tight metrics that you can tie right back to your manufacturing data. Handful of stuff like that, and like it goes all the way down to the like bare bones kind of infrastructure of how do you do like customer service. It just, new commerce kind of invades everything, right? It's like almost everything needs to be digitized. So we did another investment called Observe AI. They're doing call center kind of quality assurance automation, and now they've fully kind of gone into building an operating system for call centers. So it makes basically that human-to-human interaction much quicker, faster. They can get you your answer right away instead of you waiting on hold for 2 hours to have somebody tell you that they can't fix your problem and then bump you up to 7 different people. And then it's like, I don't know, we do some funkier, more direct-to-consumer type stuff. Like we did a peer-to-peer marketplace called Wardrobe, which I'm super, super excited about. And this is kind of indirectly related to, I guess, no, it's pretty directly related to new commerce. It's more focusing on the idea that the H&Ms of the world, the Zars of the world aren't necessarily creating the best environmental impact that a brand could make. You should be able to build and produce high quality goods and have those kind of circulate back throughout the economy. And so they're doing this for older kind of clothing. So super high quality, high brand value clothing. I could go rent Hans-Jörg's shirt or his jacket. He's got a really, really nice jacket sitting in his closet. So I can utilize all the old stuff or all the unused items that they're super high quality that aren't getting any love in my closet. So we look at just about anything that touches the retail space. And I think there's so much opportunity out there, especially now that everybody's been forced online and everybody needs to have online presences and everybody needs to have everything digitized because, well, we're not yet back in the fully physical world. Hopefully, knock on wood, that'll be coming in the next couple weeks to months. But I don't think we're going to go back from at least being pretty majorly online.
Well, Kevin, I just want to say I can vouch. I've seen Hans-Jörg's coats. He has very good coats. Yeah, and it all sounds super interesting. Wow, all of these solutions in this new space. Sophie, you started Lisa with your husband, who's the CTO. And as I said, Lisa is a live shopping assistant. Why is social commerce and live shopping the future of e-commerce and not only a feature, according to you?
The CEO of Taobao actually said that. Yeah, happy to explain that in just a second. Perhaps maybe as a little introduction into what is live social commerce or what is live commerce. I think seeing what both Kevin and Hans-Jörg just described from a sort of retail industry perspective, if you look at what's happening in commerce from a consumer perspective, it's just a mirror of that, but in other words, I always describe it as we used to be like online shopping used to be all about fulfilling needs. So it was a very transactional thing that was happening there. So, it had to be as convenient as possible. And therefore, there is still a lot of innovation in that space, for sure. It's about, as Hans-Jörg described it, optimizing the value chain. I would say basically squeezing the last dime out of the value chain in the sense of optimizing it every step of the way, which makes a lot of sense. But what's happening now in an accelerated way through COVID in the Western world as well is that it's becoming about fulfilling desires. And I'm spending time online, not just because I want to buy something, but because I want to feel something, or I want to feel like a sense of belonging, for example, happiness, maybe support, aspiration. And I think what's happening in that space, in the, let's say, I call it fulfilling desires space of e-commerce, right, is that you see new groupings of offerings around values. And social media has one role to play in that, but it's not the only players in that space. So discovery does not only happen on social media anymore. We see communities like Wardrobe, like Depop, maybe a more popular example or well-known example of it. Big communities. I think Depop has 18 million users now, right? And it's essentially a value-driven community that believes in a certain way of consuming and sharing fashion. And it's also a marketplace. So this whole aspect of sort of communities meets marketplaces, there's so much happening in that space as well. So the whole way in which we discover online is changing quite a lot. So many people say live commerce is only going to happen on social media. We actually don't believe that at all. There will always be that part, and that will always be interesting for small brands and maybe retailers or content creators to leverage. But big brands or other communities or other marketplaces will have their own solutions. And that's actually exactly what Lisa does. It caters to all those others and offers them basically out-of-the-box software to enable live social commerce in their marketplace, e-commerce shop, whatever it is, right? And why do we think it's not just a sort of feature and a nice to have? Well, actually, I don't know if you're aware, the most recent figures we just got is that in China, 17% of all e-commerce is already happening via live streams. Now, a year ago, pretty much everyone we spoke to said, yeah, okay, that's China. And it's like, well, what does that mean? Like, Chinese people are aliens and everyone here is completely different. Like, what does that mean? Because we always got that feedback and we said, but essentially, we're already seeing the same thing happening here. 82% of people already prefer to watch a live stream than to read a post on social media, for example. So what does that tell you? It means that, we crave the same kind of direct, unfiltered interaction that's real, it's enjoyable. Through the chat, I can actually, help or interact with the host, for example, and I can kind of control the experience and become part of it. So why psychologically would we here not want that as much as they want there? So that never really made sense to us, which is why we kept up what we're doing, and now it's picking up. And for the future, I think especially as so much of these desires move online and fulfilling them moves to online, I think live social commerce will be one of the main vehicles to enable that. So that's why we're 100% sure that it's here to stay, and it's also not just a COVID thing.
Thank you so much, Sophie. I'm just thinking, I think the phrase, we all will probably say this, the phrase that is will be remembered for 2020 is, can you hear me, right? But I predict, this is my prediction, that the phrase for 2021 and 2022 will be swipe up.
Or click.
When they have that, when they have that linked in their videos and people go like, swipe up to get that link and buy the product right now. Also, there was something else that you added, which I wanted to comment about. Oh, no, it's actually perfect that you mentioned China right now, because it leads to my questions to Kevin and Hans-Jörg, where social commerce has been a trending topic for the past years in China. It's becoming one of the most successful sales channels. Why is it still a white spot in European and US investor portfolios?
Do you want to start, Kevin?
Sure. I don't know. I don't think it necessarily is. I think a lot of this is very consumer driven, right? And in China, the commerce marketplace is very different than it was here. A lot of their commerce kind of started and is primarily on mobile, whereas in the US, we started off with big box. There's a much more kind of logical transition to where we are now. And we're slowly kind of getting acclimated to the whole, how do you buy things online and how do you make the purchasing experience more human? What needs to be, thrown through a mass big box retailer versus what do people like to kind of explore, discover? What do they want to see people use, play around with on, a live stream? And I think people are slowly getting comfortable with that more intimate way of buying and discovering. So I think it's more just a consumer driven thing, right? It's like you could have theoretically popped up something like everything that exists in China. You could have a WeChat that technically could do everything that WeChat, like they could do literally everything on most of the mobile apps they have. You could do everything from buy coffee at your local coffee shop to buying health, life, auto insurance. I mean, if somebody were to spin up an app like that in the US, theoretically, maybe it would work, but if there's no consumer adoption, it just dies. So similar kind of issue with social commerce is like, you could theoretically have done live stream purchasing, 5 years ago. Would it have been quite as popular? Who knows? I'm sure somebody did try it. But a lot of this stuff is really driven by social trends and by kind of people's comfort level with purchasing things in different ways. And there's a lot of stuff to back it up, right? Like, I mean, Sophie relies on a lot of different services and logistics and stuff to back up her platform. I mean, it wouldn't be possible without that. Who knows if that existed at the same capacity that it does today? So I think a lot of things are coming together that enable us to do this now, and that make now a much better time to kind of emulate some of that stuff.
Yeah, I would add there that on the one hand, I think the use patterns in China, and I'm not the biggest expert in China, I'm the first to admit, but the use patterns in China I have heard of in terms of social media are very different to what it is here in Europe and probably also what it is in the US. And therefore, the familiarity with things like WeChat as a tool to do interactions with, to communicate with, and so forth, is much different and higher than what people are using here. And here already the idea, I remember at the time when WhatsApp was thinking of introducing some kind of ads into their stream, and this clawback it generated from the user base. I think the attitude towards having ads and social commerce elements in your chat functions and in your social media, the attitude towards that is here very different than it probably is in China. So I think that is one thing. I think the other part of it is also how people want to do their discovery. And I think social commerce here originally, or social media originally, was much more laptop and computer based. It only slowly migrated into mobile, and then people, how they want to discover new brands, new products, and so forth, has probably transitioned from search spaces and marketplaces to video based discovery. But then again, do you have the infrastructure to have a high quality video through your to your mobile device already, and so forth? So I think there had also to be some certain infrastructural prerequisites put in place. And I think China there was probably faster than us. So overall, this combination of social and infrastructure and general user patterns led to this kicking off in Asia. And by the way, I don't think it's so unusual that we see new behavioral patterns related to commerce or mobile usage or use of technology coming from Asia. I think it used to be Europe and the US, but nowadays many more people looking into the Asian use patterns to spot new trends.
Yeah, and maybe just to back that up, the psychological need, let's say, and desire for these kind of experiences is very similar because it taps into the same needs. But the way in which it's executed, the way it looks and feels, the way we do it at least, is still very different than in China. I mean, you look at it at the surface, it might look similar, but there are sort of certain elements that we know the Western audience isn't ready for yet. And it depends on the sort of end consumer group. And maybe just to your point that you both made earlier, one thing we've discovered at Lisa is that, in fact, this hypothesis that we also had, that this will be especially popular among Gen Z, is not true. We have brands that we've gone live with that had audiences aged 17 to 70, and all of them went crazy. And it's just one click to join. So this is even something we weren't expecting, to be honest. Really not expecting, but it's positive and nice to see, right? That there's this sort of ease into these kind of things now that even 2 years ago wasn't there. Absolutely agree.
And you can see older versions of it, at least in the States. I'm not sure if there's something similar in Europe, but like the Home Shopping Network was massively popular for a very long time. And I mean, that was just somebody standing up, selling something on a TV with a nice big number saying, buy now, it's never going to go on this much of a sale ever again. It's the best deal you could possibly get. I mean, it's still massively popular with older generations, and it's like an imperfect comparison, but it's similar. You get to see somebody play around with something. You get to see them interact with it, talk about it. If somebody who actually really likes the product, especially if it's the person making the product, if they're talking about something, I mean, that's going to come over significantly more positive than if you just read a description online. And it's going to be way more exciting to kind of get to know a product that way.
or an expert you trust. Also a great way. Some brands that we're working with, they use like experts, like for example, dermatologists, well-known dermatologists, to really explain the products and how to use them. And the chat blows up completely because people are so excited that they have a chance to talk to this, famous dermatologist for free, basically have like a free consultation. Yeah.
I you might have touched on this, Kevin and Hans-Jörg, but I'm just going to ask because maybe you can zone into this a little bit more. And this might be very consumer driven. You touch on that too. But how do you actually scout the next big thing?
Well, it's always very hard to be sure that you found the next big thing. If it was easy, then we wouldn't be sitting here anymore, but being somewhere completely else. But that's just a side note. Now, how do we do this? So basically, I think you have got a variety of means to see the trends which are happening. So on the one hand, you obviously have your network, you have the fellow investors, you look what they are doing and you spot certain patterns there. And if you see enough momentum towards a certain pattern, then you see that this is becoming bigger and bigger. So I think that that's certainly one thing. The other thing we also very much do is we look at advances in technology and see what kind of impact they have at things which are happening in the value chain of consumer industries. And then we basically do something we call sector studies, where we try to understand how these advances in technology then impact the value chain, what kind of opportunities arise, what kind of new use patterns there are, what kind of new business models come to play. And often we see things which are relatively early stage, and then we have an opportunity to observe how they develop. And quite a few things which sound really like cool ideas, and everybody in your network will tell you, well, that is really what people are looking for, and this is going to be great. But quite a few things of these, well, for some reason they fail to take off. And only like 5% of them really start growing massively and scale considerably, which is why we from the LeadX side have positioned ourselves also very strongly as a growth investor. So we try to also not just go by gut feeling and early weak signals, but we also then try to see tangible results and drive and momentum, and combining that with the insights into the value chain with the network then leads us to make good bets in the sense that there is a good risk-reward pattern, and we have got substantial evidence that this will continue to scale nicely.
Then for us...
Thank you, Hans-Jörg. Oh yeah, sorry, wanted to ask you, yeah.
For us, we look at things pretty early, so we'll go kind of pre-seed and seed. It will usually be around the time that somebody's launching a product. So we typically won't invest until there's something to look at, to play with, to see how it's kind of been implemented. But for the most part, we'll look for people who are playing around with new ideas. Most of the time, on the like consumer side of things, you almost have to be able to tell when somebody's like caught lightning in a bottle. It's a little bit of magic. You don't really know what's going to hit for like consumer facing stuff, unless somebody's copying something that's already out there, improving upon it, that type of thing. But most of those folks will kind of come in with a very strong opinion of what they think is going to work, go after it super hard, and then you'll be able to see pretty quickly if it's going to work or not. On the B2B side of things, so on the services that help kind of prop up the consumer front, we like to just talk to a ton of people who are working with existing solutions, like kind of on a day-to-day basis. So the CLOs at direct-to-consumer brands, at any sort of commerce platform, anybody that's using a service provider that provides logistics help, analytics, et cetera, see what they like about the current platform, see what they don't like. For example, one of my buddies just started a company because he was a COO at a direct-to-consumer product, absolutely hated every single tool he was using on the analytics front, including logistics and you name it. and decided to go start something of his own. He got so fed up with it that he wanted to go make something that was better. And for B2B solutions, that's usually one of the best driving factors, right? Anything on logistics, anything in analytics, anything like that. Somebody who's pissed off about the current state of affairs and wants to make something that's better is usually a pretty awesome source of kind of a new product.
Yeah, thank you. Sophie, from a founder's perspective, what would be, I guess, your tips to founders who's raising right now? I mean, we just the hour before we had 10 companies who's now in a funding round. So how would you advise for them to prepare?
Well, I might be a little bit early on in this process myself to give big and grand advice. So, but being mindful of that. I mean, ultimately, I think people still invest in people. So I think also what Carsten Maschmeyer said earlier in his talk, the question, are you excited to get up the next morning and like to go meet that person, maybe have a coffee with them? Is that a thought that excites you? I think that goes both ways, by the way. I think that's ultimately probably at a seed stage, at least, the best indicator of, whether you want to do this or not. So on the flip side, then, as a startup, what can you do, especially in COVID times where you're not meeting anyone and where you're not necessarily as convincing or you just don't have the same chance to sort of explain yourself, to people. One thing we did, for example, we did like a virtual pitch and at Founders Factory, which is an accelerator program we're part of. And we got a little 4-minute clip of our pitch with the deck and, us presenting in person. And actually, when we first reach out to investors, we send that because it's 4 minutes of their time. They see us in person. And I've been getting like some really good feedback on that, that they enjoyed that versus just reading a deck because it gives them a lot more. So that's maybe one tip, to do like a little video to get them so that they can meet you in a way. Then I think, as we just realized, retail tech in general is a space that has only a few very specific VCs or investors, right? And the bigger VCs have not really been so heavy in investing into the commerce space for the last 4 or 5 years. I feel like sort of after Zalando and things like that happened, it sort of ebbed down. And now we have this research through live social commerce and topics like that sort of coming up again, that it's a topic of interest for a lot of VCs again. So they're only just educating themselves again on, what's out there, what solutions are out there. So there's a lot of learning happening in the space. So what might help would then also be my sort of second tip is to partner with the Retail Accelerator program, because what you get through that is a certain sort of pre-vetting towards these investors. And since this space is something that a lot haven't been in for a while, these kind of programs can help them to pre-vet, like, okay, if I look at retail tech again, if I look at new commerce, what are the top 10, 20 startups that, I should be talking to? So my advice would indeed also be to sort of partner with an accelerator, choose one that feels right. And And then tip 3, I mean, as I said, we're in the middle of this ourselves, so far be it from me to give advice, but create a long, long list and spend time doing that, and spend time really researching. And the same way you would sort of design your perfect customer and your customer persona, I feel like it's worth spending some time defining your perfect investor persona as a startup. And for us, at least, that's more of a value-based exercise next to sort of a few boxes we wanted to tick on the formalities, let's say. It's really more of a value-based exercise because you are going to work with them for a long time. So discovering, also what are their expectations on working together with a startup, that's a question I like to ask, and it's always very telling in my point of view. How do they expect us to work together? Are we filling out Excel sheets, or are we talking, or both, or a mixture of both? Just what's the expectation, and what would you like it to be, right? So that would be my advice. But again, careful advice. I'm not sure I can be called an expert on this.
Thanks, Sophie. And I do think it's good advice. Hans-Jörg, from the investor's perspective, what are the tips that you would give to someone raising now after COVID, during COVID, where we find ourselves right now?
Yeah, so first of all, I would say it's a great opportunity for the startups to do this now, because at the end of the day, you have much better access to the investors. The investors are not traveling anymore. They are not going to all these big events like, whatever. You have got the opportunity to get a meeting fairly easily, because people still want to learn about what's going out there in the market, and therefore they will take the meeting and listen to you for an hour. And therefore you have got, as said, much better access to investors. So use that while it is still there. And everybody is saying, well, it will remain like this. Maybe, maybe not. I have seen these predictions also after September 11, where everybody was saying nobody's going to fly anymore and travel will go down and so forth. I think people are recognizing what they are missing today, and I guess we come back to normal use patterns quite quickly. Maybe some things will change, but that will be completely different. I don't think so. So use the opportunity, would be one. Second would be to stand out. I would always try to get warm intros to the investors, because investors are typically flooded with people who could talk to them. And if they get a recommendation from somebody in the network saying, look, I know these guys, they are really good, why don't you listen to them? Why don't you give them an hour? You're much more prepared to do that, and you go into the meeting with a different attitude. It doesn't mean that if you are cold calling that you never have a chance, but I think you come with a head start if you have a warm intro. So that would be my second.
If you do cold email, always have something personalized in there. Don't just send the same thing to everybody. Get the person's name right. Say something personal. If it feels like you use SendGrid and just blast it out 10,000 emails to a list of investors, nobody's going to respond to that.
And I think overall, if I look back at all the investments we have done, I think none were cold emails. All of them came through the network, because the high quality startups, they somehow find a way to get to you. And in this cold email stuff, as Kevin says, you get so many things which are sub-quality. It's very hard to sift through all of that and then spot the diamond in the rough. So that's the second thing. And the third thing would be, I think then the interaction is difficult, I think, for both sides, and you need to be aware of that and just recognize it. And we all deal with this and are attuned to this. So I think for the startup, it's also not easy, but just remember, for the investor, it's also not as it used to be, but use it as a two-way street, as Sophie was saying, because I think it is your opportunity to get to know these guys to a certain extent before you actually become really close. And you will have a lot of interesting times in your scaling of your business, and then having partners on board who you really trust, who you like to work with, who you like to spend time with, is important. And I think even in this due diligence phase and also in the contract negotiation phases, you get to know people, and you will see whether you will get along with them, even if you are probably sometimes not always of the same opinion, if there's conflict, which there will be over time in investment. So I think use that time wisely and make up your mind, and just don't go only for brand or valuation or whatever. As said, it is a personal thing, investing, and you need to build the relationship and just feel comfortable with the persons you're working with.
So it's super important. And you're going to be with, let's say, if things go well, you're going to be with your investor for 7 to 10 years. You want to make sure that you guys at least are able to get along. But even if you don't get along, that doesn't have to be a prerequisite. You need to be able to share what's happening in the good times and the bad times. If you can't talk objectively about what's happening with the business, it's not going to be a successful relationship. I mean, you got to be able to problem solve together, basically. And it's okay if both have strong opinions. It's okay if you clash a lot on opinions. I mean, that it shouldn't necessarily be the case, but the founder should have a strong opinion that the investor doesn't have. Otherwise, the investor would be starting a company. The investor should have strong opinions on things that the founder doesn't necessarily know about. And you create this nice symbiotic relationship that hopefully, provides a pretty successful partnership over the life of the company.
Long-term relationship goals, hashtag. Thank you, for sharing that. Kevin, we had Carsten Maschmeyer earlier with Mark, and as we know, you are part of the Maschmeyer Group Ventures. So, Mr. Maschmeyer explained, how you kind of like are both sides of the pond, but you specifically, are you looking at companies within Europe as well, and what will make you invest?
Yeah, so we focus on companies that have a significant presence in the Americas. And that's intentionally vague because it's really hard to define any company wholly as anything, really. I think it's tricky to say that a company is only Europe. Like Sophie and I were talking before this, she said, okay, well, we're based in Europe, but we have a bunch of customers in the US and our presence in the US is growing. And so what do you call that? The company's based in the US, based in Europe. Typically our filter will be if the company's headquartered in the US, but our main focus is going to be the US, Canada, South America, Central America. We also do a lot of work in Israel. We have a lot of fantastic partners over there. And most of that's by virtue of who kind of ends up in the States. Most of the Israeli companies end up having a pretty strong presence in the United States. And that's most of the time their primary target market. So we like to focus on the kind of target market of the company rather than, where the founders are based or anything like that. For stuff that focuses more on Europe, we have a couple of fantastic teams based in Germany. We've got the Alston team and the Seed and Speed team that handle most of our European investments.
Okay, great, thank you. That was all my questions to you, but I have a list of questions from the audience. We have a few minutes. I don't know if you have extra minutes after the hour. If you have to drop off, let me know, but I'm going to just start with some of the questions. Let me get the first one. In which industries is new commerce performing best, most popular, or which sectors is most popular, the fashion, retail, and do you think it will reach other industries like travel as well?
Well, I think that's a really good question. And I think you see newcomers in a variety of areas today. So for us, we have been looking a lot at the food value chain for obvious reasons. And there's a lot happening also with new food products and so forth. You see a lot of things around fashion and beauty, I think. There you see also quite a few things. But I guess also you have a lot of things happening in other consumer industries, and it really depends if you go beyond social commerce, as we said before, and go more down to the nitty-gritty details of making commerce work in general. You see a lot of things happening, also on travel, also on restaurants, also on the general hospitality sector, where we have also spent a lot of time on. I think right now, obviously, travel is a bit of a more challenging area right now, but I am convinced that that will change relatively quickly again. And I would assume that mid-next year, we would be looking at this again quite differently. So probably now is a good time to think through new models and try to get into the starting blocks to then be ready to grasp the opportunity, because I think the trend of digitization in general, that is not going away at all. and now is then a good time for things to be greenfield and starting to capture this new audience, which will then be looking for new things.
From user perspective, we very consciously actually decided not only to try to work with lifestyle brands or in the lifestyle sector, so fashion, jewelry, beauty, the obvious starting points, but really to move really quickly into other spaces like DIY, power tools, home, and also in that sense, sort of generalist marketplaces that sell all kinds of stuff. So for example, we're live with a Turkish e-commerce platform called N11. They do weekly shows, and each week it's a different topic. So sometimes it's Apple products, sometimes it's a home cleaning show, sometimes it's I don't know what, right? Sometimes it's beauty. And all of these work really well, and a lot of them actually sell out after 20 minutes. So because we felt like, you know, what are we buying now that we're at home, right? Like what is it we're actually consuming? And we just felt like, you know, fashion is one part of that, and that makes a lot of sense in fashion, but there's all these other sectors that make sense for too. So we actually very consciously spread across the portfolio, and it seems like the hypothesis was right.
Yeah, I mean, new commerce is only really limited by the consumer, right? Like it's however you're comfortable buying stuff is, you know, the merchant's going to be able to take your money and send you a thing. You know, is like a air conditioning mechanic going to start ordering replacement parts via live video anytime soon? Probably not, but could they? Yeah, theoretically. Right now, that's all done over the phone. But anything that's done in any way that's not, you know, we wouldn't consider new commerce could theoretically kind of transition. So, yeah, I would absolutely love to see other stuff like travel pop, you know, more into the new commerce spectrum, right? Like they already do the discovery in kind of the new commerce space. You see influencers popping up YouTube videos saying, oh, this is my, you know, 2-week trip to the Bahamas, whatever they're doing. Theoretically, should you be able to like purchase that experience via YouTube, via live video, TikTok, whatever the hell they're, you know, filming it on? Yeah, for sure. I would love to do that in one click versus having to go through and buy my hotel separately from my airline, from my, you know, car ride from the airport to the hotel and all this kind of stuff. There's way more seamless things to do the stuff we already do. And I think it's only going to get better over time.
Or what about now that restaurants are having trouble, perhaps the chefs could offer, you know, online masterclasses for their best recipes, and you could sort of watch them at home.
Yeah,
and
it's like, awesome. In the States, they have.
To join the class because you're doing something for your local restaurant or something, right? I mean, there's also a social aspect to that as well, I think. Totally work.
There's a really well-known chef right now that's doing something like that. He started a very kind of like a fine restaurant that was popular but wasn't massive. You know, if you lived in New York, you wouldn't have heard of this thing from San Francisco. But right when COVID hit, he started doing classes on something called Chef's Feed. And now he has millions and millions of followers, and he's been teaching people how to, you know, make pasta, and is gotten incredibly famous because of this. And he's probably sold more stuff that way than he ever would have if he'd just run a restaurant. So the sky's the limit if you're coming up with new stuff. It's really pretty exciting.
Yeah. 2 things I want to say about this. My Black Friday purchase was an annual subscription to Masterclass, actually. And like the things that I selected were actually like a chef. One was a chef. I can't remember the others, but like really creative, interesting stuff, which you normally wouldn't purchase. And the second thing, I'm telling you guys, my prediction, the quote for 2021 is going to be swipe up and buy. Okay, wait, I've got another question. I'm going to have 2 more questions, but what players in the social commerce space do you think are doing really exciting things? Like maybe just like one from each so that we can have one last question.
Okay, well, I think, for example, social commerce, so not live social commerce yet, no, kidding. I think Depop is doing really amazing. I think it's a really, really awesome story to follow. We definitely look into them.
And this is a random question, so if you don't have someone
So
popping
the
up.
one thing from personal usage I really like is how Strava has been integrating social commerce into the way they gamify things around that platform, and having a really targeted audience, a really specialist audience there. I think it's a really cool way for them to place new brands and for you as a consumer to discover new stuff.
I would say on social commerce, there's a really cool new startup up and coming called Lisa. I don't know if you guys have heard of it.
Love it.
I was mute for that. I was laughing so loud. Okay.
I do have to plug our company Wardrobe. If you haven't seen it, yeah, go check it out. They'll be launching hopefully across Europe relatively soon. So yeah.
Okay. Well, I think with this, I will wrap this up. We are 5 minutes over, and Kevin, specifically, you might have meetings that you need to go to, and it's late afternoon for Hans-Jörg, you and Sophie. Thank you so much for this conversation with me. I thoroughly enjoyed this. I am super excited. What I'll be doing tonight is like Googling new commerce and social commerce and all of these things that you mentioned. So thank you so much for your sharing. I'm excited for what the future holds. Sophie, specifically to you, good luck with fundraising and with everything that the future holds in for you. Hans-Jörg, we'll be in touch, obviously. Kevin, it was very, very nice to meet you, and hope to speak soon. Thank you very much. I am now...
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
I'm going to hand over to Sylvia, who's joining us. And she will be wrapping up these 2 days. From my side, thank you very much for spending the last 2 days, at least the second part of the day, with me. I have enjoyed all the panel discussions, all the pitches. Thank you for the companies who prepared for that. As I said to Mickey from Orient, never been part of his pitches, like his demo days. That was really fun to see that pitch live also. Thank you. Wishing you so much health and wealth in the new year. Have a safe Christmas season. Yeah, and stay healthy. Sylvia, are you here?
Yes, I am. Thank you very much, Serena. Fantastic. Yeah, so the event is coming to an end. I personally had a lot of fun, learned a lot from our experts, from our special guests. I have to thank all the participants for their time and the very open discussions and advices that were shared with us and with the audience. Which is not normal, actually, that it's so open and direct. Thank you very much. We also have recorded both afternoons, and we will happily share these recordings, parts of it if interested by the participants. So please feel free to reach out to us via email. And yeah, we would be very happy if you also post them on your social media or LinkedIn channels. And obviously, our marketing manager, Lovisa, will also be very happy whenever you tag us with the Metro Excel or with the hashtag Excel Entrepreneurs. And I hope, and I'm quite sure that with the event today, we also have shown that it's not actually only a hashtag for us, but a real commitment that the companies can rely on. I'm very curious also about your feedback, dear audience, dear startups. So we would be super happy if you shared your thoughts with us. We will be obviously also sending out a survey. So here's some logistical things. Julia is nodding here. And what I actually can always rely on is my team and the sponsors of the Metro Excel program, right? So big thanks to Olaf and Hans-Jörg for the trust in our team, and my graduate and highest appreciation to the team members who made this event also possible. So Julia, who again has shown how a good event should be run, and also set new standards again for the new normal. The next event actually will be planned around mid of next year, or like in May. So stay tuned for that. So Serena, also thanks a lot for your support, obviously in your normal role as program manager. But on top, you have surprised us a lot. I found this moderation super professional and entertaining. So from now on, you're definitely booked safe for all upcoming events. And then also the click rates were above industry standards. So Lovisa, for all the marketing efforts pre and post program, thanks. And also here a hint to the audience, Lovisa is also writing a lot of blog posts. So she is writing articles as thought leader on trending topics around startups, investments, but obviously also sharing learnings and experiences with regards to piloting. So yeah, please stay tuned here as well. And Laurent, whom we have not seen today actually, but who was very much involved in selecting the great startups. And yeah, we have seen some of them out of our new batches, and we could hopefully also show that the relevancy to the business constantly is increasing, and so that we also can provide the right solutions with the right match to our partners. Well, so that was it also from my side. Thanks to the tech team as well that is sitting in front of me. Great job. And yeah, we will be available, or the team will be also available for the next 30 minutes in the networking session. If you're interested to catch up with us or have questions, or if you would like us to share something with you, being it emails or whatever, it's on the tab above where it says networking above the live stream. Yeah, that was it from my side. So see you hopefully again in half a year latest to the next online event, and stay tuned.